I thought I'm not going to be sitting in this chair anymore. Time is 9:12, the 29th of December. Oh Lord. I shoveled the snows, the first snow in Ontario. She wanted to do it, I decided to do it, and there you go. I got my back into trouble. So much for the promise. I promise that I will not come back. This has happened before. Well, I guess I said I would come back if there is some reasonable reason to come back. I haven't found one. But this Mr. Farid is not letting go. He's very good. I like to appreciate that Farid, you are into this and you like to investigate like a responsible Baha'i that it should, and like some other viewers, you're not belligerent and you're not irrespectful anyways. So I find myself, I have no choice to come back and down to address a couple of issues. One of them is this question of the elders. This seems to be a problem for you, that how could a fellow like myself to be an elder? You don't know why. You have written, personally I believe there were many elders in the past and are at present time. For me, Mahatma Gandhi, Mother Teresa, Martin Luther King are a great example of being an elder. They never claim that they are connected to God or they are the chosen one, but they were the source of great service to all mankind. When a child stands in front of people at feast, closes her eyes, and with purity chants a prayer beautifully, for me she is an elder, because she inspires in that is service. Well. I guess an elder is a general term. If you like to call Mahatma Gandhi an elder, go ahead. You know, they don't call him an elder really. It's the father of the nation in India, or Martin Luther King, you're saying. I don't know, what is that guy got to do anything? Where was his service? Oh, of course you mean Martin Luther King Jr. Yeah, he was pretty good, I guess. Or Mother Teresa, wow. Okay, elders in the Baha'i faith is a Baha'i term. It is a term that Abdu'l has defined it. I cannot use my definition as what an elder is. He calls elders guardians. He says they are great persons. He said they reign eternally. And a bunch of other things. Holy people, holy persons. Those are the words of Abdu'l about the elders. I myself, I've given myself a name. It's called Mr. Infinitely Inferior. That's what I am, infinitely inferior. I don't like to have any other really position among the people. But those are the definition of Shogi Effendi about the elders. Abdu'l about the elders. We should not to be worried that, oh, somebody's called elder, was given a responsibility and then he's better than other Baha'is. That's not true at all. Many people were called hands of the cause of God, 27 of them. You know how many great Baha'is were at that time? One of the ones that I think surpasses many Baha'is is Mr. Ashraf Khabari. He's no title really. You know. It's just a Baha'i scholar. Abdu'l Golpayegani, another great scholar. No. He's not called an elder or hands of the cause of God. What about Sulaiman Khan? Definitely number one martyr in the Baha'i faith. Things Baha'u'llah said about him, he has humbled the manifestation of God, this man. It was not a letters of living. In fact, when the word of letters of the living comes, except for few of them, the rest of them were not prominent followers. Some of them were really lousy. One of them simply just left to the enemy, married his daughter and stayed there, but still we call him an elder. Or letter of living, which would be an elder. So the position of the elders fluctuates, my friend. They could be infinitely inferior, or they could be the Bab himself. So there's a wide range, and Baha'u'llah has clearly said that. Not all of them are the same. Some of them are not as good as even a lowest Baha'i in the world. The word infinitely inferior, it makes them very low, isn't it? So please don't be alarmed with that if somebody is called elder, that you have any things to say about him. There's one other gentleman, he says to me that I have learned a lot of truth that I have explained, but he actually says to me that I'm lying and deceptions. I don't know, what have I lied about? What is this deceptions? Read my life from 47, videos number 47 to 54. You'll be the judge of it. I haven't cheated anybody. I haven't lied to anybody. What deception? What is it that I'm lying about? It's a big charge. You better have a proof and say that, okay, Mr. Temuri, A, B, C, D, you lied. Where? It's not good to judge, character attacks, So this is part of your question you're talking about, these elders. Who are you and this and that? Alright. Now, the second problem you have, Farid, you're talking about this. I'm going to read some of the stuff they have said. For me and millions of the Baha'is in the world, the file of institution of guardianship been closed for a long time when Abdu'l in his will and testament said the guardian will continue with male descendant of Shogi Effendi, and since there was no descendant, therefore the file is now closed. Now leadership, interpretation, protections, guidance is all on the shoulder of the universal laws of justice. This is the fact, and majority of the Baha'is accepted this fact. Betterment of the world comes the service to humanity. See, you just said again something that I'm going to have to make a comment on it. The lack of institution of guardianship, which is the text of Shogi Effendi, and it has even a building for this purpose designated, the lack of this has created a lot of interpreters in the Baha'i faith. A lot of interpreters. Everyone seems like to interpret. Just listen to yourself, my friend. You're saying elders are Martin Luther King. You say elders have to come 100 years from now. You think elders should be this, elders should be that. And then you go on and say here right now again, interpretation falls in the hand of universal laws of justice. Poor universal laws of justice has never claimed such a thing. Clearly have said that one of those prerogatives which is the responsibility, it is not conferred upon universal laws of justice, is the matter of interpretation. Universal laws of justice try to stay away from interpretation. If you tell them you're interpreters, they would tell you that we are not. We're the legislative arm of the world order of Baha'u'llah. We're not interpreters, but you just say that. Everything falls in their hand. So I'm just suggesting humbly to you, just go and study something, I have on my website, under the publication, it's a book, both in Persians, which is نظری بر دیانت بهایی و نگاهی بر دیانت بهایی و نظری بر دارالولایه بین المللی. In English, it is a look at the Baha'i faith and the Institute Universal House of Guardianship. The last pages, what are these? About 10 pages? I brought the collective, all those things. It's not a lot of books that you have to read. Read Dore Baha'i, Dispensation of Baha'u'llah. Only the last part of it, which is about 10 pages. It says administrative order. Or read the Arkan Nazm Badi, the pillars of the world order of Baha'u'llah. It's a Persian book. Read it thoroughly. I've read these books several times. So much that I memorized it. I go back and forth, crisscross, cross-examines. Anything you can say I've done to think about it. We have to think a little bit, Farid. You just simply say interpretation falls on the hand of the universal order. It's not. Please don't say that. So, this is why we have a lot of interpreters. And then they're accusing us. We actually have not done any interpretations of the writings except for one thing. And I tell you why did we come to that conclusion. And that is that the member of the Universal Laws of Guardianship has to be 5 women. That's the only thing we have said. And we have a reason for it too. As Persian they say, it's not Allah Gotormei. No, we actually, have a reason. We've concluded a philosophical reasoning that a lot of people agreed upon. So, this is one of the things you said. It says that, and I wish you were sincere to solve the problem. Who you think you are to solve, and which problem? Are you consider yourself a savior? The time for I has passed. Everything, any steps, any problem solving should be done by the elected group of people. We have 9 educated, experienced, spiritual and selfless individual backed and elected by 6 million Baha'is, telling us the priority is to serve humanity with devotional and ruhi and deepening classes. Oh God. Who am I as a person? My name is Abbas, but I'm occupying an office called elders. According to Shoghi Effendi, elders are interpreters. This is what it is. But I will explain to you. Let me read couple of other things. You claim that everything is not in order. Could you please give some example of disorder? What do you see in the Baha'i faith which is not in order? The faith is second most widespread religion on planet. Huge projects of Mount Carmel successfully finished. Teaching project plans are in the place. Baha'i youth are very active. Baha'i administration functioning well. Government and international institution respect the faith highly. National assemblies in general has reached their spiritual maturity. Well, I'm going to discuss about that too for you. And then finally, you have a comment. Please, I like you, if you don't believe me, share it with other people. About the role of the women. You're saying that before I jump to pull of water, I should ask myself, do I know how to swim? It's too late when I'm inside the pool. We become a Baha'i, then asking why women can't be in universal laws of justice? What are you saying? You're saying the people that they sign Baha'i faith, they have to be told in the beginning that the women cannot go to universal laws of justice? Are you saying that when people are teaching Baha'is or the Baha'is that have signed the Baha'i faith, they knew about this beforehand? I challenge you to ask any Baha'i you want. They never knew when they signed up as a Baha'i that women cannot go in the institution of universal laws of justice. Most of them, they found out afterwards. So you're thinking that when we sign a card and we say the Baha'i, now we're bound by the contract and a sword behind our head that we can't change now? You're saying it's a pool, or are we going to get sink in it and drown and die? We can't come back and question why not? What are you saying, Farid? Please. And then you're saying manifestation of God for this age has decided to give the responsibility, not the right, of the membership in the universal laws of justice to women. That God has given the responsibility of having or able to have a child to women. These two are not comparable at all. Not at all. To be the member of universal laws of justice is not like a pregnant woman. Very different, these two, isn't it? Can I question God, why am I not able, as a man do, experience this wonderful journey? No rightful place is an unfair statement. Okay. So it seems you don't know what the problems are, because you're asking which problem. Okay. I don't know if I put it in a category, I probably can come up with 20 of them, but I'll try to tell you some of the serious ones. Abdu'l Baha in the Will and Testament, he says that. I say that in Persian and then, in English. say ای احبای الهی ولی امرالله در زمان حیات خویش باید من هو بعده را تعیین نماید و الا اختلاف خواهد شد. A friend of God, the guardian of the cause of God, has to appoint whom he shall be succeeding him after his passing. Otherwise, there will be divisions, differences arises in the Baha'is. I'm paraphrasing, by the way. So, Abdu'l Baha says, if there is no guardian chosen by Shoghi Effendi, there will be differences. That means today, the difference there is between me and you, the license of it is issued by Abdu'l Baha. Why? Because Shoghi Effendi did not choose anybody. That is what you're saying. You just said it. The file is closed, there was no guardian after Shoghi Effendi, and so on and so forth. So, hands of the cause of God, they had the same problem. I'm paraphrasing, they said this is the biggest task for us. When we found that there is no other guardian, a center that everyone has to turn to. It was the biggest task for them. That's why they referred it to Universal Laws of Justice when it formed in 1963. Universal Laws of Justice says there is no way for us to choose another guardian or a successor for Shoghi Effendi. It's outside of our jurisdiction. There's clearly two pillars. We are the pillar of the legislative. We can't interfere and infringe upon the other side. Secondly, as a lawmaker, as a legislator, we cannot also legislate some kind of a law by which so we can choose another guardian. They say that. And then they say that, well, the reason Shoghi Effendi did not choose anybody, because all the aqsan, which means branches, the family, they were all bad people. The second answer is totally outside, of their jurisdictions, because that's interpretations. To say that because there was no branches left, that's why Shoghi did not choose anybody. It's a wrong thing to say. At least you are interpreting the situation why Shoghi Effendi didn't have. We do not interpret. We simply say that Shoghi Effendi didn't choose, therefore we don't have one. Okay? This is one of the problems. Universal laws of justice is interpreting the writings. Something they really hate to say that they're doing. But the pressure is mounting on them. Baha'is are asking questions. They want authoritative answers. There is no guardian, so they try to assume that position somehow or rather and interpret. But they call their interpretations elucidations. But actually it is interpretation. To say Shoghi couldn't have, if there was one, he would choose a second guardian, but there was none, therefore she couldn't. So you're closing the hand of God. You're saying there was no man for him to choose. That's not the circumstances. Clearly that cannot be. Okay? Or at least this is an interpretation. So Baha'is, basically what they're saying is that, like you, the guardianship is closed because clearly Shoghi Effendi says, clearly in his writings, that the son or the chosen one of Shoghi Effendi should be called guardian. And he didn't choose. Therefore what? Therefore there is no guardianship. Now you're telling me that, what is the problem? And you ask me, what do you solve? Who are you to solve? I am nobody. But if you have a solution for this situation, come along. If you don't have one, then listen to one. You know, it might be useful, Farid. Okay. So one source of the guardian is the one that Shoghi Effendi, the last guardian, first and the last guardian of the faith, has to appoint. He didn't. Therefore guardianship is closed. Not so. Not really. Not at all. There is two sets of guardianship and the guardians that are in the Baha'i faith. It's in the writing. Abdu'l says, in the Some Answered Question, there are 24 guardians in the Baha'i faith. They ask him who they are. He says, the Bab and 18 letters of the living are 19 guardians, and 5 others will come in future. These guardians, otherwise also called elders. Officially they're elder, but they can't do guardianship. They can't do interpretations. That's what it says. Mr. Qadirian was wondering, where did it say elder can do? It says the future guardian. They're not co-equal to Abdu'l Baha, or God forbid to Baha'u'llah, but they can interpret just like Abdu'l Baha. Yet they remain essentially a human being, an ordinary human being. So Shoghi Effendi says an ordinary human being can't do these interpretations. He says that. So, but the source of this is not that everybody jumps and come back and say that, hey, I am guardian, I'm guardian. Not really, it's not like that. Let's see, is there any other sources of guardians? Yes, Shoghi Effendi says. Regarding the 4 and 20 elders, as Master has stated in tablet, they're the Bab and 18 letters of living, and 5 others who will come in the future. So far, we do not know who these 5 others are. He says, I don't know who they are. If I knew, I would have told you. This 5 is a specific guardianship because their number is 5. Without them, Abdu'l Baha's Baha'i faith is not completed. These elders, as some people say, they're not future prophets or messengers of God. He says, no, this dispensation, Baha'i faith, Abdu'l Baha says, requires to have 24. So that's one source of the guardianship. Besides the what? besides the one Shoghi Effendi had to choose. So, because we know Shoghi Effendi is infallible, naturally the one he chooses is also infallible. Therefore, infallible guardianship, divine guardianship, is over. He was the first and the last. But then there are guardianship of elders. He says there are 5 of them. He says he doesn't know who they are. My birth date is in the book of Daniel, 1335. Baha'is, they say, how do you relate this to yourself? Because at the present time, nobody has answer to the year 1335. The year 1335 is equal to 1956. Again, my birthday. All the dates in the Bible, it is referred to be as lunar. Qamari, lunar. Abdu'l says this one is solar. Shamsis. Solar. So 1335 is 1956. But there's some huge problems here. Abdu'l says at 1956, 100 years is past from the inceptions of the faith of God. 100 years passed. Universal laws of justice was made in 1963. 1863, Baha'u'llah ascends to God. I'm correct, yeah. So 100 years after, which is 1863, 100 years after, in 1963, Universal laws of justice was formed. But 1963 is not 1956. He says year 1335. 1335 of the Iranian solar year is 1956. If not 56, that has not become 1963. There are some explanation. You have to change the dates, this, that. It doesn't work. You can never get it to become close. So, what happened at 1335? It was my birthday. It says 100 years before that. Read God Passes By. 1956, in 1856, which is exactly 100 years before that, Baha'u'llah resumed his mission. As you know, he quit, like I did, to be the manifestation of God. He quit Baha'i faith. God let the planet go. How serious you want him to be. He called himself Darwish Muhammad. He went into Kurdistan. 2 years. They couldn't find him. You know how much they begged him finally to come, and he accepted to come. But the time that he comes back, it was 1856. 100 years after that is 1956, which is 1335. Or in Persian, 1335 becomes 12, not 1335, 1235, 100 years before. That's the day Baha'u'llah came back to accept his mission. He wasn't going to, he says. He quit, he says. And that day I was born. Year after that, Shoghi Effendi dies. He says, so far we do not know who these 5 others are. So, these type of guardians, nobody can tell them you are guardians. They find it themselves. I had a vision that Abdu'l scolded me like this. He says, many times I told you you are one of these 24 elders. Do something about it. I was trying to start and I said, okay, sir. But Farid, I didn't know what it is that I'm supposed to do. I didn't know it. I'm not lying to you, I didn't know. I thought we have to teach like you think. So we were in Kelowna, decided to go to Prince George. I went there. I thought let's start a serious teaching. I called Mustafa to come from some place he lived in Ontario. My memory now is not good now. A city close to Montreal. I called him to come there, and he came with a Muslim boy that he became Baha'i. We had a fight in there because he was taking this Muslim boy who was a Baha'i sincerely, but was not registered, into the Baha'i activity, and I said, no, you cannot do this, Mustafa, because he is not registered, and I'm already in hot water, and National doesn't like it, and they're going to accuse us that we're doing things like that. And he said, I don't give a rat's at about anything. I'm just going to be with him. I told him I can't do it except this. So I did not let them to come to the Baha'i project in Vanderhoof, where again I rented some place and we're teaching and some kind of assembly was formed. I started to write a letter to Universal Laws of Justice about this issue. I don't know what happened. My pen, didn't listen to me, just went to somewhere else. And all of a sudden I discovered there's a problem in the Baha'i faith. And I discovered the matter. I said, Eureka, I sent a letter to Universal Laws of Justice, not to anybody else. I told him, these people are around, they can be a committee to work with you on that, and of course, they came with the Excalibur and out you go, they told me. I've explained that, look at it. So that's the second type of the elders. I told you I'm one of them. Why am I elders? It's not a very big deal. My Persian writing, no one I'm challenging in court, if you will. No one, I challenge everyone in Iran. No one can write anything like it. I have writing with 3 rhymes and 4 rhymes in 1 line. Only Baha'u'llah has done that. After him, I have done it. It is not in the Persian literature. This kind of a, eloquency in the writing. I was only 17 and 18, for God's sake. The latest one I wrote it when I was 35, 32, 33. 9 of them. Secondly, you can see my writing, my speeches here. It's indisputable if you listen to them all. I've reconstructed Baha'i faith to our age. But bigger than all, for you, that you so much believe in universal laws of justice, I believe too. I'm not saying they're not to be followed, they're not to be obeyed, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying this majestic institution of God falls short when it came to the responsibility of an elder. They said there should be 4 elders, not 5. They were wrong. They changed Darul Velayah in the Holy Land into the house of research. They made it a committee to work with universal laws of justice, which that is not the original intention of Showi Effendi. He says a 3rd building called Darul Velayah, house of guardianship, to be built as a center of commentary, interpretation. When he says interpretation, that means it's outside of universal laws of justice. Universal laws of justice cannot be in charge of any interpretations groups. And it says it's complementary to universal laws of justice. It's not under the order of universal laws of justice. They changed it. You want more problem? This is a huge problem. If at the top of the faith something like that happens, you want more problem. Abdu'l Showi Effendi says, divorce from institution of guardianship, faith of God is dead, gone, gonzo. It says that the member of the universal laws of justice, they need a guidance. They can't work on their own. You were always wondering, when they get together, 9 of them, God will inspire them. But then did you ever ask how? How this inspiration comes? It says it has to come from the institution of guardianship. It says, and the necessary guidance for its elected representative is missing, is lacking, is withdrawn. It's not there. So who's going to guide universal laws of justice? After all, 5 elders, they're going to die sometimes and go. Not much left from mine as it stands right now, unless you come and save me. Because if you demand that I should stay, even for your sake, Farid, God holds me here. I'm not begging for life. I live better on the other side. But responsibility, cannot stand in front of Baha'u'llah to see him unhappy. I would suicide if I know that I did not do my job well. He doesn't have to put me in hell. I will suicide if I know that I didn't do my job well. So that's why I'm here, okay? You read my writings about Baha'u'llah, you might change your opinion, okay? So what is this guidance for the universal laws of justice comes? If there's no guidance, it's gone, as I said. There is no universal laws of justice. The entire fabric of the faith will, in parallel, will be crumbled. This brings us to the third group of guardians. Again, page 300, that's in light of guidance. Somebody's asking, Shoghi Effendi that? Who are these guardians? Why do we need guardians? Shoghi Effendi tells him, I'm paraphrasing, he says that, listen, if you believe God talked to us by choosing a person such as Baha'u'llah, and that's how God talked to us, because he can't talk on his own, he has to choose a person, and he manifests his power in that person. That person becomes a persona of God. And he come talk to us. He says the same thing then should be applicable. That when Baha'u'llah is not here, he says after Abdu'l Baha, then he would have to choose the guardians. He used the word plural, guardians. And he says this is what it means when in the light of God, in the Will and Testament of Abdu'l Baha says this is the day that is not followed by night. No darkness, he says, will come after this day. Night will not come, he says. Why? Because the guidance keeps coming. That brings us to what? To the general guardianship. Now, there are guardians who would have to take care of that. The universal laws of guardianship in future. As they come up, good people like you, they set something, they write books, poetry, in any field. Just like you have consular to the universal laws of justice, universal laws of guardianship will entitle these people as guardians. They determine. That's their interpretation. How do they do this? By the principles of the Baha'i faith. He says religion has to be according to science and logic. They study the book, all these great knowledgeable people, committees are all working with them. Based on that, when a guy says, I am the guardian, or I am the guardian, or I had these dreams, or I have these visions, or these are what I produced, just like a person who gets a PhD, brings something new, nobody knew about it. When these people, they bring these things, it creates inspirations for the house of guardianships. They tell them you are guardians. If I was around those days, I would tell them, they give them a scepter that they carry with them. But the top of it is the eagle of Shoghi Effendi. They are the guardians of the earth. They go around wherever there's problems. In cities, in countries, they work with the counselors. Together solve the problem. They reach to one opinion. You want to know which problem again? More problem? Okay. This is huge. Again, in Dawra Baha'i, or dispensation of Baha'u'llah, Shoghi Effendi says, we have universal laws of justice and we have guardianship. Two pillars. In Persian they call it Dorokne Rakin. He says, the relationship of universal laws of justice to Baha'u'llah, what's his relationship, and to Abdu'l Baha, something he says that I did not finish it. So as of yet, we don't know really what is the relationship of universal laws of justice to Baha'u'llah. That's what Shoghi Effendi says. He says this is a task, no doubt, future generation will do. What is the future generation supposed to do, Farid here? They have to do the work of Shoghi Effendi that he did and not completed. What do we call the work of Shoghi Effendi? Interpretations. Can universal laws of justice interpret? They say no. God says no. Can the Baha'is do that? It is written Baha'is are not allowed to interpret. They can interpret for themselves, good for themselves, but it's not authoritative interpretation that the Baha'is of the world should follow. He says no, they can't. So then you have to ask yourself, who's going to continue this? Like everything else, Baha'i faith, they have created an institution for this. It is called the institution of guardianship. This is the center of interpretations. It's not the center of interpreters. We don't call a member of Universal Laws of Justice prophet of God because they participate in bringing new law which is infallible. We don't call them prophet. So as this member of the Universal Laws of Guardianship, we don't call them interpreter. But yet interpretation, which is the responsibility, is carried away with them. It's carried out. Isn't it? It makes it very simple. Their interpretation cannot cancel and revoke the previous interpretation of Shoghi Effendi and Abdu'l. Just like Universal Laws of Justice can bring the law, but they cannot revoke and cancel and abrogate the law of Baha'u'llah. Similar to each other. What is so big deal about it? If 9 men can legislate laws, which is equal to the laws of Baha'u'llah infallible, of course there can be some people that then also can interpret, which is equal to the interpretation of Shoghi Effendi and Abdu'l in being authoritative. If we don't do this, Farid, there's a bigger problem. You and I are put as a watch guard. You read it, I read it, everyone knows it. That, watch out, Baha'is, Universal Laws of Justice should not, 3 things they are not going to do. They should not interpret. They should not interfere with the guardianship. Number 2, they should not bring something that is not within the framework of the Baha'i faith. That's like cancelling the laws of Baha'u'llah. 3 things they cannot do. Who is this addressing to? To all the Baha'is. Don't you think Baha'is, when they read this and they don't like something from Universal Laws of Justice in future, they're going to say that, hey, listen, this is outside of the faith, this is an interpretation, that's abrogation of the law, this is outside of the faith. It's going to be anarchy. Everyone in the world is going to. Now we're 7 million, wait till we are 200 millions. Wait till we're 1 billion. We're fragile. Like the atom of uranium, we are radioactive. We're going to dissolve. So how do we prevent this? Nothing. Just have an institution of guardianship. This is not supposed to be the successor of Shoghi Effendi. No. This is not even supposed to be the elders. This is supposed to be those guardians that Abdu'l says till end of the Baha'i faith. Shoghi Effendi says till end of the Baha'i faith. They will keep coming. Guidance keep coming from Baha'u'llah. It's like a Windows of Microsoft that there will be continuously online patches. Fix this, fix that, update. Call them updates. Baha'u'llah will send updates. And then they're all working with the International Institution of Guardianship. Elders of God, they have to come and say, what is the relationship of Shoghi, of Universal Laws of Justice with Baha'u'llah and Abdu'l? If we don't say it, then the faith of God is gone down. So you might think that I'm not so humble, claim that I'm an elder. But Farid, only under the title of eldership, the word elder, remember, it makes it legal for me to do the interpretation. Otherwise I can't do it. Now because of that I'm claiming I'm an elder? No. I've been told several times in my visions that I'm an elder. I've been taken to special classes, Farid. I can't tell you what those things are. My brain has gone through surgery in a divine kingdom of God. I did not know what I'm telling you right now. Before I claimed in 1995 I'm an elder, suddenly things changed, okay? Well, gradually, but at a high, really high speed of evolution. So, I'm not saying just because of that I'm saying elder. I'm telling you, I'm an elder. I am not allowed even to doubt myself. Because when I see universal laws of justice is interpreting, I gotta move in. When their translation is incorrect, I have to move in. When they're interpreting that elders of 5 or 4, I have to move in. God has to move in. I'm just a dog of Baha'u'llah, that's all I am. You say that, oh, they spent so much money in the Israel on the Mount Carmel, and they built 5 buildings. The 3rd building has to be called Darul Vilayah. I don't have the page images in front of me, but go again in my website. I'll look at the Baha'i faith and the universal laws of guardianship. I have brought all of those in Persian and English, all the texts with the pages. You'll be the judge of it. If these things are not happening, Farid, we do not have a religion, I'm telling you. And this is not an interpretation. It's the word of Shirley Effendi. So, it's not a joke. You're saying universal laws of justice can interpret. No, sir. They say that right in the book I told you, Arkan Nazm Badi. حق تفسیر و تبیین به بیت العدل تفویض نشده است. This is what they're saying themselves. The right of the interpretation is not bestowed upon the universal laws of justice. It's not their prerogative. Do you think universal laws of justice has to choose elders or even guardians? No, they tell you that they don't. Because it says none of this institution can impose upon each other's responsibility. Universal laws of justice recognized as very well. They do not interfere, not at all. Because if they do, call this guy guardian, what about the word of Shirley Effendi? It says that Baha'u'llah will bring his guardians. Finally, let's talk about the women. My passion, Farid, has not been this institution of guardianship and bringing all of these things. I swear to God, I don't like it. Let God to hear it. I don't like it, God. Let Baha'u'llah hear it. I don't like it. I don't. I'm definitely doing something that I don't like. This is too specific for me. What I like is to teach Baha'i faith. You say we have progressed. Zero. Zilch. Nothing. Every Jehovah's Witness and the Mormons, with their stupid ideology, utter whack, outdated, sorcery, they have religion, they have gone all over the place in North America. And we Baha'is, what have we done? Zero, zilch, nothing. I bring the faith of God in 10 years, I will have Canada come into the Baha'i faith. This time we're not going to teach Baha'i faith. We're going to say and show to the Baha'is what Baha'i faith is capable of. We're actually going to bring the product. We're going to get rid of the battles in this country, get rid of divorces. We're going to get rid of drugs. We're going to get rid of stress, depression, fight between natives and white. We're going to make everyone to work. We're going to bring the cost of government down. We're going to create a healthy society. We're going to go deep, do things that every Canadian they'll see in their own eyes. This is what Baha'i faith is capable of doing. No longer talks. The actual product is coming in. I am capable of doing that. If you are the Farid that I know of, you know what they did in Thunder Bay. But I lost 1 year completely, fully left my business. I spent $30,000-$40,000. I almost put myself in bankruptcy. I went from Thunder Bay where? In Azenberg. I went and slept there among the natives. OPP was telling me that don't go there, and if you're going there, don't call us Saturday and Friday, because if you do, we're not coming in to help you. Because these guys, they shoot sporadically. I told them they're not going to shoot me. Me and Naz rolled over there. I did not take even the key out of my truck. Nobody came to do nothing with us. And I'm sitting in there. All of a sudden, this girl, his name is Gladys. It wasn't a strange Indian girl because she had a kind of a dirty blonde hair. They said it's original. She said, my grandfather Elijah Ash said a man comes from the east. He's coming to our village, to our reservation, is going to fix our ways. And I say, that's you. She pointed at me. But all of this that I'm telling you means nothing to me, actually. These are all good if I want to run for presidency, if I was going to be a politician, maybe a big, huge economical, project. This is a spiritual project. Baha'u'llah says in the spiritual world, we're all the same. There's not even Baha'u'llah. We call him Daddy. He's the granddaddy of the universe. Father, we tell him. But it's children. He doesn't want to say when he's bigger than us. None of us are unhappy over the other successors. They're our brothers. We love our brothers to be better than us. This is a spiritual. But friendship. Up and down doesn't exist there, sir. When it comes into the prism of this world, all of a sudden there is these states, there are different colors in the rainbow. The real color on the back is all the same. You can say divine majesty, the king. But if you are the son of the king, you just call him my dad. Not in front of the public, but in the back in the house. We're inside with Baha'u'llah. We don't talk about these things. All the great souls, the spiritual souls. Baha'u'llah says, the spiritual people, when they die, the believers, like Baha'is, like you, Baha'u'llah actually comes to see you, to talk to you, to associate with you. This up and down is only in the material world, in the social world, not in the spiritual realm, isn't it? I mean, you don't need to be Sherlock Holmes to know this. Talking spiritual. What a station? Station of what? Alright, this is just because it's necessary, The word elder can interpret, so for the future, the Baha'is, they say if this guy is elder, then he's allowed to interpret. We're going to go with his interpretation. Therefore, we are going to legislate the house. God. Okay, let's talk about this women business. You know better than me. Ask Abdu'l. That why the women are not in universal laws of justice is just like a sky, You see this sun in the middle of the sky? How obvious is that? It says that obvious it will be the reason in the future. It's very simple. Because they have to be the member of the universal house of guardianship. This is the only thing we interpret, by the way. Nothing else is the house of guardians, which is not our interpretations. The fact that they do interpretation, and there's not our thing. Darul Vilayah is not. It's all in the writing. We just brought it to your attention, really. Except this one. Why is that? Because in the Baha'i faith, if you look, the Baha'i emblem has 2 stars. Is it? The five, stars. 5 pointed stars. In the Baha'i faith, we say there's a man with a head, 2 hands, and 2 legs. representing a graph of the messengers of God. One of them is supposed to be Adam, one of them is supposed to be Eve, isn't it? Eve in Persian and Arabic is called Havva, H-V-A. Numerically is 15. Adam in Persian is A-D-M, Adam we say, which is equal to 45. Abdu'l says. He says, now if you look, Havva, H-V-H is 15, Bob is 5. B-A-B, Bob. B is 2, 1 is 8, so Bob numerically is 5. Havva or Eve is 15. But Abdu'l says, if you add 1 to 5, 1 plus 2, 2 plus 3, 3 plus 4, 4 plus 5, it becomes 15. Therefore, Bob is the return of Eve. Okay? Adam is, we said that, ADM 45. But Baha is what? 9. B2, H5, 2A is 2, 9. 1 plus 2, 2 plus 3, 3 plus 4, 4 plus 5, 5 plus 6, 6 plus 7, 7 plus 8, 8 plus 9 becomes 45. Then Baha is the return of Adam. Remember, in Adam and Eve stories that they're saying, is not a reference to a woman. Eve is not a woman. It's represented like that. If you read in the Bible says what? Created them, male and female. And he called them Adam. So Adam is referred to both male and female. Eve is a reference to the next to the manifestation of God, the one who's with Adam, because he gets the power from Adam. Abdu'l gets power from Baha'u'llah, isn't it? Ali gets power from Muhammad. John the Baptist gets power from Jesus Christ. Aaron gets power from what? From Moses. All the prophets of God were always two. The second one is getting power from, that's why it says it came from the rib of Adam. That means he was a gulf. That's why we call show Abdu'l Baha al-Khalij al-Munsha'ib min Bahr al-Qidam. The gulf branched from the ancient ocean, because Abdu'l Baha comes from Baha'u'llah. So when you look at it, Bob and Baha is Adam and Eve. And the Bible says the kingdom of God comes on the planet, established on the earth. Well, in the name of Adam, which is Baha, there's 9 members. It makes sense then. In the name of Eve, which is 15, which is the Bob, there has to be 5 women. Isn't it? Makes sense. And it's not so much that philosophy behind it. The fact of the matter is, Shoghi Effendi says, any modern movement that can be useful, it can be embedded into the faith of God. Women of the world, including my daughter, including my wife, they would not accept the leadership of 9 male in the universal laws of justice and then keep the women outside of it. There will be no single institution in the world next 50 years that the women are not occupied. Okay? And now we're going to be totally segregated ourselves, secluded. It's politically incorrect, put it this way. It is not good for the goodness of the faith that we don't respond to half the population of the earth. Especially when there is a philosophical reason for it. Okay? These 2 houses, universal laws of justice, universal laws of guardianship, they have to have a natural opposition, which is like male and female. But they're not opposing, they're complementing. Like neutron and electron. One is negatively charged, one is positively charged. Negative attracts positive. But they are forcing each other. This is why women have to be there. It's got nothing to do with the pregnancy of women. Pregnancy of the women soon will be abrogated in the world. You'll see. They find it no use for it. Women go through a lot of things that they don't have to go, even children. A lot of things that are going to come in the future, you don't believe it. We're going through a very strange phase in the planet Earth. the golden age when it comes. Diseases, shock appendices will be removed. Bad genes will be taken out. New genes that were good is going to come. It comes to a point that we become so natural that naturally we don't catch cold anymore. You know, no woman will go through pregnancy, believe me. They're making the perfect womb. That the egg of the mother and father is in there and the womb comes right out. Guaranteed. No disease of the mother goes there. If mother has certain problem, the child will not have the diseases of mother and the father. They just find it insane to do that. It's an old-fashioned way it will become. Pregnancy, that wonderful journey. It's not so wonderful. As to any woman, they don't like pregnancy. Always something happens. So, I don't know how useful was it to you, but believe me, your sincerity, Mr. Farid, have been impressive. That you're at it and you're not letting go and you keep sending these messages. But I'm not going to give you any more answers, Farid. I did everything. I told you what the books are. Just go read it. There are not too many. Dispensation of Baha'u'llah, about 10 pages. You know, even Universal Laws of Justice is written something about covenant, another 10 pages. Regarding this issue, there are not too many things that have to be read. You know, the will and testimony of Abdu'l, a couple of pages of it refer to this. And Arkan and Azmabadi, the pillar of the Universal Laws of the World Order of Baha'u'llah in Persian, that's a bigger book. But what is it? It's not much. Your study, right? Come back with some comprehensive critiques, questions that is not going to be repeating the same thing. Thank you, and Allahu Akbar.